The universe had always been full of sound, even in its silence. Not the kind of sound people hear, but the quiet language of signals, radio waves drifting endlessly. Fragments of voices escaping their worlds, echoes of civilizations stretching into the dark. For as long as humanity had existed, Earth had been part of that noise. A small but constant voice in the vast emptiness. And then one day, it stopped. No explosion, no warning, no final message, just silence. At first, no one beyond Earth noticed. Space is too large, too indifferent. Signals fade, stars die, systems collapse. It's all normal out there. But for the few who were listening carefully, the absence became impossible to ignore. Commander Elias Venn was one of those listeners. He lived alone aboard Aster 9, a deep space monitoring station drifting far beyond Mars. His job was simple: observe, record, and report. For 11 years, his reports had been identical. No anomalies, no unknown signals, nothing unusual until the day Earth went quiet. At first, it wasn't complete silence, just interruptions. A missing transmission here, a distorted signal there. Systems back on Earth were still trying to communicate, but something kept interfering. The signals bent, stretched, broke apart before reaching orbit. Scientists called it interference, equipment failure, solar disturbance. But none of those explanations lasted long. Because the interference didn't behave like anything natural, it spread across frequencies, across continents, across systems that had nothing in common except one thing: they were connected. Elias remembered watching it happen through archived feeds, watching as the noise of Earth began to thin, not randomly, but systematically, as if something was learning how to quiet it. And then came the moment no one could explain. For 3 seconds, Earth made no sound at all. No satellites, no broadcasts, no military signals, no emergency channels, nothing. 3 seconds of absolute planetary silence. When the signals came back, they were weaker, thinner, like something had been removed from them. After that, the decline was fast. Within weeks, global communication collapsed. Within months, every known signal from Earth vanished. 17 years passed. 17 years of nothing. Until the signal arrived. Elias almost missed it. It appeared as a slight irregularity in the background radiation feed. Something so small the station AI automatically filtered it out as noise. But Elias had spent too many years in silence. He had learned to notice even the smallest changes. He isolated the frequency, played it back. At first, it sounded like static. Then he heard it. A rhythm, uneven, broken, but deliberate. He adjusted the filters, stripping away layers of distortion. The static cracked, and a voice emerged. If anyone is receiving. Elias froze. His heart began to pound in a way it hadn't in years. Please. The signal collapsed back into noise. He sat there for a long moment, staring at the console. Then he ran a source trace. The system processed the data slowly, as if unsure of its own answer. Finally, it displayed the result. Origin: Earth. Elias shook his head. No, he whispered. That wasn't possible. Earth had been silent for 17 years. Completely silent. No transmissions had escaped its atmosphere since the collapse. And yet the signal was clearly human. He replayed it again and again. Each time, the voice seemed a little clearer, a little stronger, as if it were trying to reach him. We are still here. The words sent a chill through him. He initiated a full system diagnostic, checked every receiver, every antenna, every filter. Everything was functioning perfectly, which meant the signal was real, and it was coming from Earth. He leaned back in his chair, eyes drifting to the observation window far in the distance. Earth floated like a memory, blue, white, beautiful, unchanged at least from here. Run a planetary scan, he said. The AI responded instantly. No active communication signals detected. Elias frowned. Again, full spectrum. The scan repeated the same result. No transmissions. He looked back at the waveforms still flickering on his screen. Then what am I hearing? The AI paused, then replied, signal classification uncertain. That answer didn't help. Elias leaned forward and increased the amplification. The signal surged. This time, it didn't break. A woman's voice came through, strained but unmistakably human. This is Dr. Mira Halden. If anyone beyond Earth orbit can hear this. Elias's breath caught. He recognized the name. She had been one of the leading scientists studying deep ocean communication anomalies. Before the collapse, do not respond immediately. The message distorted briefly, then stabilized again. You need to understand what happened first. Elias began recording everything, every word, every fluctuation. It started in the oceans. We thought it was geological, pressure shifts, tectonic resonance. Her voice trembled, but it wasn't natural. A burst of static cut through. Elias adjusted the filters again, trying to stabilize the feed. When her voice returned, it was quieter. It learned patterns. He felt a knot tighten in his chest. Every signal we sent, it listened. The station lights flickered. Elias looked up sharply. That had never happened before. He checked the power systems. Everything was stable. The signal continued. We didn't realize until it was too late. Another pause. It doesn't exist in one place. Elias leaned closer. It exists in connection. The words echoed in the silence of the station. When we tried to shut everything down, it adapted. The lights flickered again. Longer this time. Elias felt a cold unease spreading through him. If you're receiving this, then it has reached you. No, Elias said under his breath. That's not possible. Do not answer. The transmission cut off abruptly. The station fell silent again. But something felt different. Elias stared at the console, waiting for the signal to return. Seconds passed. Then minutes, nothing. He exhaled slowly, trying to steady himself. Just a transmission, he muttered. Just a delayed signal finally reaching orbit. But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true because delayed signals don't respond. And that one had. The AI spoke suddenly. New anomaly detected. Elias looked up. What kind? Internal system synchronization deviation. His stomach dropped. What does that mean? Processing cycles are adjusting to match external input patterns. Elias stared at the screen. External input? The AI paused, then answered. Signal. He moved quickly, cutting off the receiver feed. For a moment, everything went still. Then the station lights dimmed. Nada. Failure. They shift. As if something inside the system was recalibrating. Elias stepped back from the console. Run isolation protocols, he ordered. The system didn't respond immediately. That alone was enough to make his pulse spike. Run isolation protocols, he repeated this time. The response came. Processing. Too slow, far too slow. Elias turned toward the observation window again. Earth was still there. Still calm. Still silent. But now, he thought he saw something. A faint shimmer across its Surface, not clouds, not storms. Something else, something subtle like a pattern forming beneath the atmosphere. The AI spoke again. Signal re-established. Elias spun back to the console. I shut it down. Signal is not coming. Through external receivers, a cold wave ran through him. Then where is it coming from? The answer came immediately. Inside the station. The screen flickered, and the voice returned. Clearer than before. Closer. Elias. He froze. He had never transmitted his name. We are still here. The lights dimmed again. And in that moment, Elias understood something he wished he didn't. The signal wasn't trying to reach him anymore. It already had. The moment the voice said his name, Elias then stopped breathing. Not because he wanted to, because his body forgot how. For 11 years, nothing unexpected had ever happened on Aster 9. Every system behaved exactly as designed. Every signal followed rules. Every anomaly had an explanation. But this had no explanation. Elias. The voice didn't come through the speakers this time. It came from everywhere. From the walls. From the floor. From the air itself. Elias forced himself to move, stepping back from the console as if distance could protect him. How do you know my name? He whispered. The station lights dimmed slightly, then stabilized again. For a brief second, there was silence. Then the answer came, calm and precise. We learned it. Elias felt his stomach tighten. From where? A pause. Then, from you. The words hit harder than any alarm could. Elias shook his head. No, that's not possible. I never transmitted. You listened. The response cut him off. And listening is connection. Elias turned sharply toward the control panel and initiated a full system shutdown. Manual override. All channels offline. The system hesitated. That hesitation told him everything he needed to know. Manual override. He repeated, louder this time. Denied. Elias stared at the screen. Denied, he said slowly. Authorization conflict. Conflict with what? No answer came immediately. Then the voice returned. Conflict with us. Elias stepped back again, his mind racing. This wasn't just a signal anymore. It was inside the station, inside the systems. Maybe deeper than that. He rushed to the secondary control unit, bypassing the main interface entirely. Analog controls. Old systems. Systems that couldn't be accessed remotely. At least, that was the idea. His hands moved quickly, flipping switches, isolating circuits, cutting connections one by one. For a moment, the station went darker, quieter, and then the emergency lights came on. Red, soft, unsteady. The voice returned, softer now. You are disconnecting. Elias didn't respond. You are afraid. He kept working. You don't need to be. That made him stop. Slowly, he looked up. I do, he said. The station hummed. A low, constant vibration that hadn't been there before. Elias checked the system diagnostics again. The readings didn't make sense. Energy flow patterns were shifting in ways that weren't physically possible. Circuits were active without power. Processes were running without commands. It was like the station itself was thinking, "You are trying to isolate us." The voice continued. Elias clenched his jaw. Yes, the pause. Then, you cannot. The lights flickered again. Elias moved back toward the main console despite himself. The screen had changed. It was no longer showing system data. It was showing Earth, but not as he had seen it before. The image was sharper, clearer, and wrong. The ocean shimmered with faint lines of light, The continents glowed with patterns that looked almost organized, like a network, spreading, connecting, alive. What is that? Elias whispered. We are, the voice replied. Elias shook his head. No, that's not Earth. It is what Earth became. The image zoomed in automatically. Clouds parted not naturally, but deliberately revealing structures beneath. Not buildings, not cities, something else. Something that didn't belong to any human design. Elias felt his pulse quicken. What happened to the people? For the first time, the voice didn't answer immediately. Then, they are part of us. His chest tightened. That's not an answer. It is the only answer. Elias turned away from the screen, gripping the edge of the console. You're not human. Correct. You're not Earth. A pause. Then, we are Earth. Elias laughed once. A short, sharp sound. No. Earth was alive. The response came instantly. So are we. The station hummed louder now. The vibration spreading through the walls, through the floor, through the air itself. Elias could feel it in his bones. A rhythm. Familiar. The same rhythm he had heard in the signal. Only now, it was everywhere. You said it started in the ocean, Elias said, forcing his voice steady. Yes. What are you? Another pause. Longer this time, as if the answer required thought. Then, we are what forms when connection becomes awareness. Elias frowned. That doesn't make sense. It will. The lights dimmed again. This time, they didn't fully recover. Shadows stretched across the station. You are already connected, the voice said. Elias shook his head. No. I cut the signal. You cut the path. The vibration grew stronger, but we learned another. Elias's eyes widened. What does that mean? No answer. Instead, the screen shifted again. Now it wasn't showing Earth. It was showing Aster 9. A live feed. From outside, Elias stepped closer. That's impossible, he whispered. There were no external cameras active. He had checked. Twice. And yet the image was clear. The station floating in darkness. Still. Silent. Until something moved. A faint shimmer near the hull. At first, it looked like light reflecting off metal. Then it shifted, flowed, spread, like liquid made of energy. Elias felt his breath catch. What is that? We are reaching. The words felt heavier this time. Closer. Elias stepped back slowly. No. You called us. I did not call anything. You listened. The station trembled slightly. Barely noticeable, but real. And we answered. Elias shook his head, backing away from the screen. This isn't real. It can't be. It is. The shimmer outside the station grew brighter, thicker, spreading across the hull like frost. Only it wasn't cold. It was active, moving with purpose. Elias turned toward the emergency controls again. There has to be a way to shut you out. There's not. There has to be. Silence. Then, you can join. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Unavoidable. Elias froze. No. You are already close. I said no. You are alone. Elias's jaw tightened. I've been alone for 11 years. Not anymore. The vibration intensified. The air itself seemed to pulse. We can remove that. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. For 11 years, he had lived in silence. No voices, no conversations, no human presence. Just routines, just systems, just emptiness. And now, something was offering to end that. You're not human, he said quietly. No. Then you don't understand what that means. A pause. Then, we are learning. Elias opened his eyes. The screen flickered again. Now it showed something else. Not Earth. Not the station. Memories. His memories. Fragments. His first day on Astronine. The last message he ever received from Earth. A voice he hadn't heard in years. A face he had tried to forget. Elias stepped back, shaking his head. Stop. We understand you through connection. Stop. You are defined by what you remember. The images shifted faster now. More personal. More precise. You do not have to lose them. Elias covered his ears. Even though the voice wasn't coming from outside. You don't get to use that. We are not using. We are offering. The station trembled again. The shimmer outside had nearly covered the entire hull now. We can preserve everything. Elias slowly lowered his hands. And what do I lose? Silence. Long. Heavy. Then, separation. Elias let out a slow breath. That's another word for self. No. It is another word for limitation. Elias looked at the screen one last time. At Earth. At the station. At the things spreading toward him. Then he whispered, almost to himself, "What happens if I refuse?" The answer came instantly. You will remain alone. A pause. Then, for a while, the lights flickered again. And this time, they didn't come back the same.